What percent of our subconscious minds do you think controls our lives? According to Gail Mara, clinical hypnotherapist and author, our subconscious minds control a whopping 95% of our lives. Some of these moments are recalling memories, thinking about fears, justifying beliefs, acting on habits, and whenever you're trying something different, getting that feeling of uncertainty. What if we could control the very thing that usually appears in our subconscious and control it consciously? One of the most mysterious functions of the brain that can happen subconsciously and consciously is the flow state. The late Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a distinguished professor of psychology and management at Claremont Graduate School, noted that the flow state is a state in which you become so involved in a task that nothing else seems to matter. You may know this phrase more commonly as getting into the zone. The only problem is that the majority of people don't know what it is and when it is happening, and can never access this zone on demand. But what if we could access it on demand? What if our output on tasks could be doubled or even tripled, almost as if you're the Flash doing your work? There are many conditions that must be met to even allow a chance of entering the flow state. For some games during last soccer season and for years earlier, I've had long periods of absolute focus. One of our last games was very important, and I needed to put all my effort in and take risks. So I decided to try and force myself into this flow state. It was the district semifinal game, and we were up against a local rival. It was a cold and cloudy night with floodlights shining down on us on the cool green turf. When I walked onto the field, I told myself to try and play as efficiently as possible. It didn't matter whether I made it into the flow state or not, but I would have liked to. I noticed that if you think too much about getting into the flow state or about mistakes, you won't be able to get into the state because you'll be stuck in your head instead of in the game. Looking back at it now, when I'm in the flow state, I feel almost as if I'm a robot, doing everything without hesitation, which is what you want. It doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing, as long as the ball is at my feet, I'm in the state. Even if I make a mistake, I just keep moving forward. Though, most of the time, I find myself not even making mistakes. Whenever I receive the ball, it felt as if I was in hyperfocus and just look at the players as general outlines instead of noticing their specific features. I noticed which ways their shoulders were facing and also their feet. If a player's shoulders were moving towards me and coming at me, my brain would immediately make myself go the other way once the player was close enough. If they're in front of me and I dribble too early, they would easily cut me off. If my opponent's body leaned left, I leaned right. If someone rushed to me, I dribbled the ball past them with a big touch. I didn't think about anything else besides the players and the ball. Depending on the game, most of the time I'm only in the flow state when I have the ball. When I'm not, my thoughts are everywhere, from what I should get for dinner to what I was due for homework the next day. During the semifinals, I hit the ball and it went into the bottom left corner, exactly where I want it to go, barely missing the goalie's hands. It feels as though at times you cannot make mistakes. The state almost eliminates doubt. When I think about the match experience, I realize something deeper happened. There's almost a phenomenon occurring in my brain. I actually didn't realize that what happened to me is one of the great wonders of the brain. I stepped into the zone, or the flow state. The meaning is literally in the name, flow. There are no disruptions, just straight flow. It is quite contradictory, especially within our generation, as there's absolutely no flow or clear thinking due to the fact that most kids are on their phones for many hours per day trying to get some type of satisfaction. We want instant gratification, and that limits our state of flow. The phone causes much more distraction because it becomes an addiction. Coming back to the state of flow, many athletes and scholars use the state to achieve their goals. According to the media news company Influensive, Kobe Bryant sat for many hours per day just listening to his music and visualizing, which really helps getting into the flow state. He visualized every play and situation that could happen, so once he was in the moment, he had already done it. Doing this type of visualization helps load myelin, which is a substance that coats our brain's neural pathways and strengthens them. It allows for quicker transmission of thoughts, which has a direct correlation of athletes to act automatically. Myelin is a big advantage when it comes down to the final moments of a game. Coming back to Kobe, he became comfortable with every situation he was put in. If you imagine a three being drained, then once he received the ball, jump, shot, and the ball went in. But how can other people apply this to their lives? How can we manipulate the flow state to our advantage for athletes, students, or anyone? The flow state is a state of thoughtless action. According to an article in Frontiers in Psychology about the neuroscience of the flow state, it is a state of full task engagement with low levels of self-referential thinking. If anyone is a runner here, a runner's high is very similar to this state. If you're in flow, it is common to become so focused on activity that you don't have any attention to give anything else. You also have a feeling of control, and time is warped. You can't track time. People that get into the flow state, according to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, are 500% more productive in the flow state. 500% more effort is a pretty big advancement of effort. You get an hour-long assignment done in 12 minutes. Now, there are many conditions to get into the flow state. The first involves clear goals. Goals must have feedback that is quick and unmistakable. The goals create a kind of sense of control by knowing what needs to be done. 2, the most important element. Your skill set needs to match the difficulty of the task. If the level of the task and your skill level is low, then you become apathetic. If your skill level surpasses the level of the challenge, then you experience boredom or relaxation. When that challenge's level becomes more difficult, leading you to match your skill level, you'll become more in control while the challenge gets more difficult. On the other hand, if the challenge becomes greater than your skills, then you'll be anxious and start to worry. Like when you have a math problem and you have tried to solve the problem in so many ways, but still won't get the correct answer. And you don't even know how to get the correct answer. When the skill level increases to match the difficulty level, the brain ignites a state of arousal. Once the level matches the difficulty, you'll be transferred into the flow state. Like I said before, visualization beforehand can also help. You can visualize the situation so you know what skills you need to surpass the level of difficulty or meet its requirements. I use these same conditions for soccer. I use a lot of visualization before the game because 1, it boosts my chance of entering the state, and 2, it boosts my confidence. When I'm in the game, for entering the state, position is the most crucial factor. If I don't move myself into a good position to run, to pass, or to shoot, opposing players will be right on my tail, and there's a chance that I might panic. When I'm in play, I slowly focus on the ball and my objective. Whenever I receive or I'm going after the ball, I create a kind of sense of urgency, which I think helps dramatically in entering the state. Anyone can use this practice. Business people, students, artists, athletes, and dancers have all been recording and experiencing it. Another example of an athlete using the zone is Carmelo Anthony. According to Bleacher Report, after Anthony achieved his personal best of 62 points in a game, he claimed that he was locked in, meaning in deep focus. He also said that he was one of the few that knew what the zone was like. As I said before, students have been recorded using the flow state. I don't really use it on examinations, but there have been many accounts of people using it for tests. For example, this is not my story, but I wrote about a girl that used it on a geometry final at Gale Scholarly Research and Learning. She said that she'd never really been into geometry. The only connection was that she felt that the parts of shapes were almost tangible. But the day she took the test, it was totally different. She started the test out slow, and then she steadily began writing formulas, equations, and answering questions. She never looked at anything else besides paper and question at hand. I wish I could do that on tests. Whenever I enter the flow state, it feels like I changed into a new form of myself that has superpowers. The flow state allows you to do things you wouldn't normally be able to achieve. It gives you a new way of doing things more efficiently and accurately. Whenever I hear or think about this topic, I get such a weird feeling in my stomach, almost like butterflies. But instead of being nervous, like it was for this talk, I'm so excited. I'm excited for the unknown potential that I could reach my output of effort, the unknown experience, just striving for a feeling you can't compare to any other. Flow can be very influential in our lives, but it's very difficult to control. Flow can change our ways of thinking, living, working, and many other things, but you will not be put into the state every time because that is just how life works. According to Chickama High, every day the situations change. Maybe not the places, but the pressures surrounding the places change, and the challenges and skills are rarely balanced. But if you do enough times, you will slowly start to master getting into the state. Kobe Bryant pretty much mastered the art of flow because of how much repetition and work he put into his skills to deal with his game-to-game situations. Entering the flow state takes time and practice. If you don't prepare your skills, prepare to fail. You don't have to become like Kobe. Your circumstances are way different from his. Therefore, the challenges and situations will be different. But whether it's in sports, math class, or anything, you can become a master of flow and it can change the way you view your world and the way you become productive. Thank you.